Welcome back to Employment Insights with the NRTC. On this episode, we are joined by our host, Sylvia Stinson-Perez, and guest, Judy Matthews. Continue listening to hear from Judy about her employment journey.
Today, I am just thrilled to have with me Judy Matthews, who I have known for many, many years. In fact, maybe like 25 years. I go back to when I was in my probably 20s and Judy was a teenager. So It has been glorious to watch Judy and her exceptional personal and professional success. So welcome, Judy.
Wow, thank you. Thanks a lot.
So, Judy, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Tell us a little bit about your vision impairment.
Sure. I have an eye condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis. I was born blind, and the extent of my vision is light perception. So I can tell that the lights are on or off in the room, but that's about all I can see, and that's been the case my whole life.
So tell us about your work experience journey.
Sure. So I would have to say my very first job was as a receptionist at the place where my dad worked at the time, and my aunts and my cousin. So it was a Saturday job. I was in high school, and it was great to have had that experience of, gosh, I got to get up at 6, even though it's Saturday and I wish I could be sleeping in. Just being able to work on those customer service skills early on and things like that. When I started college, my very first year of college, I participated in the work study program, and I was a teacher's assistant and did that for a year. As part of my music therapy studies, I had to do practicums every semester, my last 3 years. And so I had the opportunity to work in a variety of settings with a variety of populations. So I learned a lot. I worked with mostly adults, adults with developmental delays, nursing home patients, adults with traumatic brain injuries, worked at the VA with post-traumatic stress disorder patients, and that was one of my favorites. I worked with kids at UCP, United Cerebral Palsy, and I also had a work experience at Easter Seals, and when I was part of a summer transition program for teens. So did that, of course, had an internship in music therapy at the Maryland School for the Blind, and got to work with kids 0 to 21 with visual impairments and various other disabilities. So grad school, I actually was a note taker for a year for a classmate. And I also had a practicum and an internship in vision rehabilitation. So with adults who were blind or visually impaired. I worked at Lighthouse Central Florida for about 17 years. And there I actually interned there and was able to secure a position there as a vision rehabilitation therapist. And I also supervised the adult services program for the last 6 years that I worked there. And now I work for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation here in Colorado, and I'm an assistive technology specialist. And I've been here for about a year, made a year at the beginning of this month. I don't know where the time goes.
So one thing caught my attention that you said there. I mean, so many things, because you've had just a really great career. But you said you were a note taker in college. A lot of times people who are blind have note takers. They aren't the note takers. So
Yep.
Tell us a little bit, just real quick, about that.
So one of my classmates had, I believe, and I don't remember exactly her disability, but I think it was either dyslexia or she had a learning disability, and she needed a note taker. And she heard me typing away on at the time it was a Braille and Speak. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you must take really good notes. Can you, would you be interested in being my note taker?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" I definitely needed the money. So I got to do that for at least a semester, maybe a couple of semesters. And so that was kind of cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you've had a long and successful career. So what are 3 things that you wish you had have known when you started out?
Well, probably one of the things that I would say has been so important, and I probably realized the importance of this, although not to the extent that I probably should have. But even early on, I knew the importance of networking and getting to know people, because you never know when it's going to make a difference and get you a job or an internship. I remember when I met one of my supervisors at Lighthouse Central Florida. We were both in the vision rehabilitation therapy program at Florida State. She was doing the distance learning program because she was working full-time, and I was full-time in the program. And we had a class combined. It was a sewing class, I still remember. And so she was there, and I was thinking about internships, and my husband's also in the tech field. And so at the time he had just finished a certification and was looking for work. And so of course we had some time to mix and mingle in class, and I went and talked with Ginger, and I said, "Hi, I'm interested in interning at Lighthouse. And, I just wanted to, meet you. And by the way, do you have any openings for an assistive technology specialist?" So she definitely remembered that over the years, and said that it made an impression on her. And so I think that I just say that to emphasize that you just never know, like, who's gonna make a difference in your career. And so it's good to make those connections.
I will tell you, Judy, that in my professional career, I've had about five different places I've worked, 5 or 6. And only one of those did I get, not because of my network. So that networking thing you're talking about is so important. And of course, with my job at the Lighthouse, the references came from my network. So networking key. So that's 1, networking. Number 2.
Yes. Number 2, I would say being your own advocate, because so many times I think that our biggest hurdle is not the blindness or visual impairment, it's people's attitudes. And so I think having that confidence in yourself and that willingness to advocate and to let people know, yes, this is how I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Even though I can't see, I do have reliable transportation to work because X, Y, Z. I won't be able to see what someone is writing on the board, but here's how I'm going to get around that. Or whatever the situation might be, just having a plan and being able to articulate that and having that confidence in yourself, because other people are going to see that, and it's going to make a difference. So yeah, advocacy would be my number 2. And I would say number 3, and this was a really hard question. There's so much, but I would say always having a plan B and being flexible. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and, just assume that there will be a situation that won't work out the way that you plan, and just think about a way that you're going to be able to get that done a different way, or just switch gears altogether. There have been situations in my life where, I'll have a plan, and this is how I'm going to get here. And then it's pouring down rain, and guess what? I'm not taking the bus over there. So let's see what else I'm going to do. Or, just work, just to bring it back to employment, having lots of options, if you're applying for work, don't assume that you're going to get that one job that you applied for. Just, keep your options open. And even when you think that this isn't the job that you had dreamed of getting or that you had planned on, or maybe it's a way to get your foot in the door somewhere, or, maybe it's just chalk it up to work experience. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So adaptability, problem solving, and I love that. Having a plan B. Sometimes you need a plan C, D, and E as well.
For sure.
So
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it's about that never giving up, is that keeping going and pushing yourself on.
Yes,
So
definitely.
Judy, what are the blindness skills that have helped you in your journey? And now you mentioned from the beginning that you don't have any usable vision. So that's a challenge. So what are those skills that you think are critical for someone who's visually impaired or blind to have if they really want to be successful in an employment journey?
Gosh. So as I was answering this, the first one that popped into my head was Braille. So I put it there because there are so many. But I think that being proficient in Braille has helped me throughout school and work, to be able to be efficient, taking information down and accessing information. That's how I got one of my jobs. If I was able to be a note taker for this person because of my Braille skills. Just in school, being able to have access to information, whether that be paper Braille or using a note taker. And so, of course, along with that is technology skills. Couldn't do my job without my tech. And now that I am an assistive technology specialist, not only is it, I get to, talk about both sides of that because, personally, I couldn't do my job without it. And then I know that, the individuals I serve couldn't do their jobs without tech. Even people that don't really have tech as part of their job description, but people still need to be able to log in and put in their time, or
there's
email
very few jobs today, right? Very few jobs where you don't have to use some technology.
For sure. Yeah. Along with the tech and the Braille, I would say organizational skills, even though they're not necessarily blindness specific, because you don't have to be blind to be organized, but it really goes a long way. And I remember when I was in elementary school, I had my 5th grade TVI, teacher of the visually impaired. I remember she sat down with me one day and she said, we're going to read this passage and we're going to take notes. And I'm going to show you how to do an outline. And at first I was like, what is this about? I've never had anybody show me how to take notes, but I am so grateful to her to this day because it really helped me just to have those, a good foundation for that. And then of course, orientation and mobility skills, I can't imagine. I moved from Florida to Colorado and had to start over in a brand new city.
That's a big transition, scary.
Very much so. I think my internship in Maryland was also another scary, I was pretty much moving across the country, didn't know anybody. This was pre-Uber, Lyft, and all the rest of the options that we have these days. I needed to get to the grocery store and get food. And so if I hadn't had the ability to walk there, cross the street, and do what I needed to do, it would have been really difficult to be out on my own like that. So, and also, of course, the daily living skills, just being able to know what your clothes is so you can match for your interview. I'm just throwing out an example, but there's so much. When I was in my second year of college, I decided to go to the Daytona Vision Rehab Center for the summer. And I had taken, vision rehab training before at the Lighthouse as a kid. That's when I met Sylvia. But I always had, home to go to. My parents were there, and I really didn't have to like fend for myself, buy my own food, cook my own food, do all this stuff, manage my own money. And I wanted to make sure that I knew that I could do it. And that's so important, just being confident in yourself that like, I've done this, I know I can. And so I think that really gave me a foundation to, be able to navigate everything moving forward.
Judy, that just brings up to me such an important thing. And I got a vision rehab degree kind of late, about 12 years ago, but have always felt that that's so important, is having those skills. And unfortunately, what happens is people have this rush to want to go to work and they want to get back to things. And it takes time. Especially for those who acquire vision loss later, or just, who don't spend their whole life like you and I, where we had to learn those skills to just live everyday life, but who all of a sudden have vision loss or have substantial vision loss. Learning those skills, taking that time, like Judy talks about, to focus on getting those skills is something that can make all the difference in your level of confidence and your level of competence as a person who's blind. Once you have those skills, you have to continue to work on them all of your life. But if you can build that solid foundation, it really does help a lot. And you mentioned Braille, Judy, and I think a lot of people feel like, oh, Braille is obsolete. I didn't grow up blind, so I didn't learn Braille. I don't have to learn Braille. And I'm going to tell you that I learned Braille when I was about 30 years old. I use it every day. I used Braille way before I, quote, needed to, quote. I could still see print for many years after learning Braille, but it sure did make so many things easier. I had file folders as a social worker that I needed to get out. And instead of having my nose on the drawer, trying to find those files, I had them all brailled and could pull them out. Having your spices brailled, I literally brailled directions to get to places that I needed to walk before the iPhone.
Yeah.
That I didn't get lost.
For sure.
So many things for organization, for labeling, and at work. I mean, it's just so important. And so when people say, well, I'm too old to learn Braille, or, it's hard. Nothing in life is really that easy. But when we take the time and really make the effort to learn, it really does make you a stronger person with skills that you can really use. And with the high unemployment rates of people who are blind, this is a key issue, is that having these skills really matter.
Absolutely. I can't imagine. I know this isn't necessarily employment related, although, I think socializing with your coworkers is a thing. You need to be able to. So, I can't imagine playing cards without knowing Braille. Like, that would be really challenging. I know you can do it on the computer or some other ways, and there usually is another way to do everything, just about everything. But I love games and board games and cards, and knowing, it would be a lot more difficult without Braille.
A lot more difficult. So there's so many things that would be a lot more difficult without Braille.
Yeah.
So Judy, what are the soft skills that have been critical to your success? So problem solving, those kind of things.
Yeah. So problem solving for sure. Communication skills, I had that as my number one. I feel like so much hinges on how you communicate with people, and having that follow-up, and really letting people know what your needs are. And it really goes hand in hand with, your advocacy, because if you can't communicate what your needs are and be assertive about what they are, it's going to be difficult. And doing it in a positive way. So I had positive attitude as my second one, because, people are looking, employers want you to be solution oriented, not go in there and go, oh, this is not accessible, blah, blah, blah. Of course, you're going to let them know something's not accessible, but here's how you can make it accessible. Can we do X, Y, Z to make that accessible for me? Or, just being solution oriented when there is a situation, and showing that. I'm a people person. I'm very, I get along with pretty much everybody. Not a lot of people I don't get along with. And so having that teamwork and that cooperation, it goes a long way. Goes hand in hand with that networking. And, being able to give back. So not just like, it's not just about how somebody can help you, but then how can you do something back for them? One of my mentors, when I was just starting out in the vision rehab field, she was amazing with her humor. She could tell anybody just about anything. Like if we had something hard to say, I would go, Lynn, can you come tell this person that, whatever. And she really taught me about using humor in my work and just in general, and she helped me become more comfortable with that. Even though I always felt like I had a sense of humor, but I wasn't as comfortable using it in the workplace, and because there are times that things are going to be awkward to say, or that people aren't as comfortable. When you meet somebody that's just starting to lose their vision, it really helps to get them comfortable and being able to talk about things. And so, I think humor was a big one for me once I got there. And so, of course, we talked about.
I think humor makes you more relatable. It just makes you more relatable to people too.
For sure. It does. And, even if you're nervous, like it really helps even for your own nerves to, make a joke or something. Just problem solving and being flexible and having that plan B or C, it really does help. And employers look for somebody that's flexible and is willing to look for other ways to get things done.
Great. So you mentioned a positive attitude, and I have this great Helen Keller quote I wanted to share. And it's, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence.
I love that.
I know.
That's
I like
so great.
Too.
Yeah. There's there are so many good quotes with that, and I think I'd rather be. So my husband says I have rose-colored glasses, and so I'd rather have that than to be like cynical or pessimistic. I mean, there's enough of that to go around. I'd rather.
I'm with you. I am with you, Judy. Yeah.
Let me have my rose-colored glasses. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So share with us one major insight that you would like others who are starting out on their employment journey with vision loss, or maybe in work transitions, what's one major insight you'd like them to have?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I think I've talked about a lot of the things that I had here, but I think one thing, and I think we sort of touched on this before we started, but just not focusing so much on the obstacles. And this was hard for me in the beginning. So just going back to like elementary school, when I first started being mainstreamed, I did not have books in accessible format. So they weren't in Braille. I didn't have recordings for the blind and dyslexic, now learning Ally. I didn't have that till I was in 5th grade. So when I was in 3rd, I think it was, when I started doing more mainstream classes, I was really discouraged because I felt like I was falling behind. My family, my parents didn't speak English to be able to help me with homework. It was really hard. My brother, good luck with that. He was a teenager, and he tried, but so it was really hard. And so I would just get discouraged by those little setbacks, or at the time they seemed really big setbacks. But I made it through the class and I didn't fail. So, now whenever as I progressed through school and was able to see that, even though there were challenges along the way, in the end, I got it done. Being able to focus on the end, looking at not so much on the little steps that I'm having trouble with, was really helpful for me. And like I said, as I went through school and college, I tried to just have that, optimism, or, okay, I'm struggling with this, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it done. And let's see how we can get it done. So it's not always easy. And it's not like you're ignoring those difficulties. You have to work through them, but just being able to
keep going.
Yeah, just keeping going, focusing, and, using your resources. And, I've found that people in general want to help us. Like, they're not against us. So I think if you let people know and work with people, they're going to work with you. So I think those are some of the insights that have helped me along the way.
I just found this amazing quote that fits exactly what you just said from Marie Curie. Life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance and, above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be obtained. I think that fits what you just said so well.
I love it. It's a great quote.
I'll send it to you.
Please. Yeah, send me some quotes. I love quotes.
So, Judy, truly, you've had this really great, successful career. And I think one thing that I admire about you is that where you could have stayed in one place, you kept moving upward and onward and exploring new dimensions of where you could give and where you could be the best asset to those people you wanted and needed to work with. And sometimes those are scary things. And so I didn't send you this question in advance, but I think you can handle it. How do people handle those transitions that are scary? And I'm thinking about people who maybe have lost additional vision or lost vision, or they've had to change a job, or they had to move, and all those kind of scary transitions. I've read that life is in the transitions. The scary parts sure are, but what's some advice you might have about facing those fears and getting through those transitions?
Well, I would say that having your support system, and I know that not everybody has a great, solid support system, but if you don't, finding that somewhere, whether that's with your family and friends, or church, or coworkers, or find a support system, because that is really going to help you through when you're having the tough days and you need someone to talk with about it, when you need that little help, extra help that you're going to need someone to ask, and it's okay to ask. Like, I know some of us, and I've been guilty of this many times, thinking that, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm not going to ask anybody for help because, that pride thing. But, sometimes asking for help is what we need to do. So having that support system and just pushing through that hard, those tough times of, oh my goodness, I don't know anybody here. I've got to build my support system again. Or, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do because I can't see to read, or I can't see to drive, or I can't see to, match my clothes, and all the things that, sometimes we kind of take for granted. But just realizing that There's usually another way to accomplish just about anything. And asking people, like, find people that are going through similar situations and figure out how they're doing it. And of course, can't say enough about skills and, getting that training, but, we're kind of biased on that because that's what we do, but
That's right.
it's so important. But, just even like supporting one another. I think that connecting with people is huge, because sometimes our family and friends who are not experiencing situations that we might be experiencing, they mean well and they want to help, but it's not the same as somebody that is living what you're living every day and can say, I know.
Connecting with those peer groups, those consumer groups, American Council of the Blind, National Federation of the Blind, Blinded Veterans, National Organization of Albinism. I mean, those are tremendous networks of people who can be that support system for you. And Judy, I think oftentimes, and we've all been there, we think we've got to be independent. We've got to show the world that we can do it. And I just have fallen in love with that quote from Helen Keller that says, alone we can do so little, together so much.
Together we can do so much, yeah.
That coming to understand that interdependence. And you brought it up earlier that, yes, there are things that I need people to help me with, but I can reciprocate right back to them in different ways. And understanding, for me, independence for me means that I count on other people for certain things and that they count on me for certain things. So independence for me really is about knowing there are things that maybe I could find a way to do them, but why would I try so hard when it's going to take me 10 times longer and cost me so much more money when I could just ask for help and then I know I can contribute back to that person. So that's
absolutely. Yeah. And I think we do, like you said, Sylvia, we get so hung up on, I got to be independent. But I think interdependence is so much more realistic and so much more achievable and just I think it's I can't say enough. It really is a win-win for everybody.
And to bring it back to employment, isn't that what teamwork at work is all about? It's about interdependence. Teamwork at work is about interdependence.
Absolutely.
Our final question, Judy, which I think is a fun one, is to share with us one life quote, saying, motto, something that's helped you achieve the level of success and employment that you have.
I would have to say, and I know this isn't very deep or profound, but I would say we will figure it out has been a motto that I have lived by for a lot of years, because, there are going to be obstacles along the way in just about anything that we do. And just having that attitude of we will figure it out has really just helped me, like I was saying earlier, to focus on the outcome rather than these obstacles along the way. And there is another quote. And of course,
I love that though. We'll figure it out. I love that.
Yep. We'll figure it out. I remember my husband and I wanted to go to the garlic festival. They have, and I found out, by the way, that there are lots of different garlic festivals around the country, but we were going to one in Florida somewhere, like West Palm or something. And we had called to see if we could get some assistance while we were there. And of course, we procrastinated and it was very last minute. And so they were very willing to do it, but they couldn't pull it together at the last minute, with like just, a few days to spare. So we just said, you know what, we're going to go anyway, and we're going to figure it out. And we did. And we had a great time, and we were glad that we didn't let that stop us or say, oh, well, I'm not sure how we're going to get around there. Like, we just used all our tools. I mean, we both have great orientation and mobility skills. We used IRA we sent them a map of the event, and we said, can you give us the lowdown on this, on how these things are laid out? And we, took some notes, and we, of course, asked around and, got directions. And just throughout the whole day, we just felt like the right people were in our path. And we just were glad that we did it.
My guess is you got lost a couple times, but that was probably the cool part where you met somebody cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just a couple times, lots of times.
Yeah.
But we did, we met lots of cool people along the way, and we had a great time. And sometimes you get lost and you find things you weren't looking for.
Right.
But
well, first off, I can't imagine going to a garlic festival. I'm all about the chocolate festival, but to each his own.
Want to go there too. They had garlic ice cream, Sylvia, and yes, I had to try it.
That's all I got.
My husband, not so much. He tried it. He didn't like it. Yeah. It was pretty good.
That's that whole Hispanic thing, okay?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
But I will tell you that the national, the biggest one is in Gilroy, California, and one of these days we're going to go to that.
Okay. To each his own.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Judy, it has been so great having you share your employment insights today. And thank you for your persistence in building your skills and your confidence and just figuring it out as you went along and being willing to share that with people on their journeys.
Sure. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it. Anything that I can do if my experiences can help other people, then I'm always willing to share that.